Hello.
Hello, I'm Rita Cevasco, and this is Moira Chrzanoski, and we're with Rooted in Language.
Hey.
And today we're talking about how much language arts a day. How much LA a day? Okay.
Let's make it snappy and
I
easy to remember.
I thought of this because of a blog that Shanahan had recently written in which this question was asked in terms of traditional education.
Phonics instruction.
And it was particularly about phonics instruction. And it really just got me thinking about, we are always setting up a timetable in pinwheels, and I get this a lot from people. How much do kids really need? You have a lot of opinions out there about don't overdo it.
Well, and in our classes, we teach a lot of information and don't give as much of a timetable in that format.
Right.
So it's just, obviously as an educator, you're trying to figure out how much and how often and what's the most beneficial for my child. And so.
Right. So
Shanahan
was addressing exactly how much explicit phonics instruction per day, and he was quoting research that was suggesting sometime between 15 and 60 minutes a day, and he sees the average of this instruction being about 30 minutes a day.
A good goal.
Primarily for grades K through 2, to which I might qualify for the reading level of K through 2, which could be any age or grade for various struggling learners.
Yes.
And also, I want to clarify what explicit phonics instruction is,
yes,
because that is not the same in every classroom across America. And if you've been with Rooted in Language for a while, we have this kind of trifecta approach in which we explicitly teach sound to letter connections,
and
patterns, which is phonics. The patterns is more the orthography, the spellings of different sounds. We approach it from sound to letter, more of a sound-based approach. And we include morphological skills of teaching word parts.
Word structure.
And word structure, where kids are learning prefixes and suffixes and what are base words and what are some rules around when they need to spell words.
Combining those morphological units.
Combining them together. And so...
And how all of that builds into your enchilada of, literacy, reading, and spelling, right? Literacy being
but
reading
that's
and spelling.
That kind of explicit instruction we're talking about, to which Moira clarified
that explicit instruction always includes explicit practice.
Right.
So when we're talking about the amount of time we want you to be engaging in language arts, explicitly teaching a day, I mean teaching and practice. Teaching is not done if it was just presented or lectured or shown, right? There has to be lots of very engaged practice on the part of the child. And they are holding pencils, they're moving things, they're doing it. Okay.
So it's manipulatives, it's reading it, it's writing it.
Yep.
They actually are producing, right? And verbalizing. You want to be saying
output.
You want to be saying sounds while you write.
And that's not a couple too. I always say, if you've taught some new concept and they, spelled 2 words, that's not practice of that concept. You need to really give every new concept its practice in sort of as many outputs as you can.
Right.
In order for it to get solid. Over time, too. That doesn't even have to be in a single day. Yeah. I saw the O. Over time. Yeah.
Yes, it's not a one and done. Let's move to the next concept. We have to constantly be practicing and building on what kids was learning. What kids was learning.
What you was a learning.
Oh my.
So those good old SLPs.
You can trust us. You can trust us to teach your kids. And then Shanahan goes on to say that you should have 2 to 3 hours a day of reading and writing teaching.
And how does that differ from what we were just talking about?
Right. So that this explicit phonics instruction that includes phonology, orthography, morphology, includes these 3 things that I was just talking about. And it's being practiced in reading words, reading sentences, writing words, writing sentences. Now we've spilled over into this bigger ball of language arts instruction. And so we want to get to original writing, going by bits and pieces.
Yeah, I was going to say, so when we say bigger ball, we mean, when we're teaching in these smaller bits, in these more discrete skills, I often say, it's to it's for the goal of what we often call consolidated practice, which is the big job of reading something contextualized, right? The big job of writing something larger, paragraph to paper, etc., right? Or even just engaging, and you could even be at the sentence level, is more consolidated than a single word, right? So when we say reading and writing, we mean that real application at the level of, now I'm reading pages, now I'm writing pages,
Right. And then we also have, our grammar, our deeper word study that's going on, our read aloud, so that kids are hearing information that's above a level that they can be reading.
Sure.
Our reading together, so they're working at a more challenging level
with
of reading.
support.
Right. The independent reading that they may be doing at a level where they're, 95 to 98% successful in reading accurately. Reading aloud, which builds into
the child reading aloud.
The child reading aloud, which builds into reading fluency. All of these things make up language arts, and that is easy to think of in 2 to 3 hours a day. 2 to 3 hours in a row for a child who's a struggling learner.
No.
Broken up over the day for a child who's a struggling learner. Absolutely.
But 2 to 3 hours for a lot of educators is shocking. They're not doing that amount of reading and writing in a day, and that is what's recommended. And if you think about it too, if you're engaging in this kind of practice and teaching across the curriculum, you should hit that 2 to 3 hours pretty easily. We have to engage in consolidating reading and writing skills that are taught explicitly and practiced over here in every subject, really. I mean, there's no subjects that don't involve reading and writing.
And when you think about, well, how much am I supporting for a struggling learner? Well, yeah, I could read aloud to them for 2 or 3 hours a day, but that's not them reading to me. They can only tolerate a small amount of that. Well, a small amount often, and then just start messing with those percentages, right? I mean, the goal is that they're doing more and more independently. There is the I do it things. There are lots of we do it.
That should be your bulk.
That's your bulk.
The we do it.
Right. And then some of their practice, that even independence working in a phonics workbook, or that independence that I'm going to copy these few words and say them while I write, that the copy work maybe is getting easier. And as long as I'm listening and making sure we're well prepped, maybe they can do a little more of that independently. I mean, you're working toward those independent skills, but we're still always working together, so they're learning more about what they do when they're independent.
Yeah, right? The progress happens in the we do it, because that's where you're moving, and that's hopefully where you're moving them forward a little bit into what is successful, what is comfortable, to growing a bit of a skill, which we always want to do in the we do it zone. We don't want to just chuck challenges at them and watch them drown, right? Because they haven't had enough we do it explicit teaching and practice. Be careful with the amount of independence you're doing. I can't remember if we did another FAQ on this, but you just got to be careful. While we want children to become independent, responsible learners who take ownership over this and are developing skills that are strong, we need to make sure that what they're doing independently is engaging in what is strong. Because if what we're asking them to do is engage independently in something that is weak, or where they're just compensating all over the place and they're not using the skills that are the most efficient and effective, then you're sort of undoing a lot by asking this struggling reader over here to go sit and independently read for 30 minutes at a level at which he's just guessing all over the place and practicing bad strategies. So you got to be careful in the work you've chosen for them to be doing independently, that they're using good skills, they're strong in that area, what that is doing is building into their foundation of good skill work.
Yes, absolutely. Well said.
Thanks.
It's a good thing to end on.
Yeah. Alrighty. Hope this helped.
Yep. Thanks.